Hello and welcome to this tutorial on sitting and lying down. At the time of this recording, sitting and lying down is not yet available. So this is a bit of a sneak peek into a new feature that's about to land. We can now sit and lie down, and look at all the NPCs sitting in the tavern. They're having a lovely time. Isn't this great? So yeah, we can sit down, we can also lie down, and in this tutorial we're going to explore how to do that. We're going to look at creating a sittable seat so that players and NPCs can sit in it. We're going to look at making anything a sittable seat so you can sit on whatever you want. And we're also going to take a little bit of a look at the new socket system which enables this kind of thing, but it also means that we're going to have to go back and change some of our blueprints, packages and games that rely on the previous names of the sockets. So anything that uses the old socket names, we will have to go back and address that to make sure that they're using the new socket names. So, you know, if you're attaching a gun to someone's hand or if you're attaching anything to the player's body, then make sure to update your packages to use the new socket names once this feature has come out. Right, let's get to it. Okay, so I want to add a sittable seat to my game environment. So to start with, I need to go and get the seat. So I'm going to go to my meshes tab and find an appropriate chair. So I'm going to type tavern. There we go. I'm going to look for this chair that is called chair brackets tavern because it's quite appropriate for my tavern. And let's just put it here by the front door. Now when I place it, you'll see, so what I've done is I've clicked on the chair to select it from my library, and then I've clicked in the game world to add the chair. When I placed it, and let's press escape to stop that placing chairs and go to the select tool. When I placed it, you'll see that this little red locator has appeared on the chair. Now this is our socket. This is where we're going to position the player so that they can sit on the chair. And any of the chairs that you find, let's search for chair, any of the chairs that you find in the meshes library, you'll see that they have sockets in appropriate positions to sit down, which is awesome. So you can now choose any of the chairs, or there's actually a whole bunch of different things that you can choose that already have these sockets attached. So let's look at this chair. I've selected the chair, the socket is right there. If I hover the socket, it says what it's called. It's called seat, and it also says what the asset is called, which is chair, or the occupy asset, which is the type, is the way that the character or the NPC will occupy that seat. If your mesh has more than one socket name, which it might do, you can find those by hovering this copy socket names button in the entity editor when you've selected the thing. So this gives you all the different sockets that you might be able to use. Now I just adding the chair to the game world. If I was to now preview and try and sit in that chair, it's not going to actually let me do it. I have to do some code in order to do that. Or I install Stuart's sitting and lie down package, and then so you can see that there. And then all I need to do is select the thing that I want to sit on, the chair in this case, and go to Entity, Add Script, and choose the sitting script, which came down as part of sitting and lie down package. Now I've just added that and I've not changed anything, and let's just preview now and see what happens. So I walk over to this chair, and when I look at it in the bottom right corner, you can see that the prompt has come up and it says press E to blank. We haven't filled anything out, but if I now press E, I'll sit down. Yay! And if I press E again, I'll stand up, albeit standing on the chair. So I can sit down and I can use the mouse to move the camera. Now notice when I move the mouse, if you look in the bottom right corner of my screen, at certain positions that interact disappears. So it can be a little bit fiddly. And so let's look at like refining this a little bit. So let's go back to the editor. And if I select that chair and then go into the sitting script properties here, let's just also make sure that we've got a prompt. So the prompt I'm going to use is sit down, because it will say press E to and then whatever is in here. So sit down. We can also add an exit point so that when I leave the chair, I'm not just standing on it. So to do that, I'm going to go to my primitives part of my library, choose the locator, and add the locator here next to the chair. Just point it in the right direction. Remember this arrow that sticks out of the front of the locator, that's the direction that whatever is spawned on there will face. So I've added the locator. It's called locator 4, and I'm going to, in the exit point of the sitting script on the chair, I'm going to choose locator 4. So that's an optional, these are just optional extras, right? So this is the prompt, you don't have to set the prompt. This is the exit point, you don't have to set the exit point, but it kind of refines this and it makes it a little bit more polished. Finally, one last thing I would like to do here is just add a trigger to the chair. So I'm going to add a trigger box. A trigger box is an invisible cube, and they can be really helpful if you've got a mesh like a chair which is a little bit fiddly to interact with. So I've added it as a child of the chair, and I'm going to, with the trigger box selected, in the entity editor over here, I'm going to check interactable. I also need to hook up my triggers on interact binding to the chair's set seated function. So I'm going to add a new binding. I'm going to drag the chair into that entity. It's going to automatically select the sitting script, but if it hasn't, just make sure you select sitting script. And I'm going to choose the set seated function. So now, just that little tweak. So we've added a prompt, we've added an exit point as a locator, and we've added a trigger. All of that was optional, but it just adds a little bit more polish, because now the hit area where I'm looking to be able to sit down is a lot larger. If I press E, I can sit down, and also it's not as fiddly when I'm moving my camera around to be able to leave the chair. Press E again, and look, now I'm spawned on that locator. So that's how to add a sittable seat, and also how to refine it a little bit. Let's explore, how do I make something sittable that isn't already? So over here, over here by the fireplace, let's make this upturned crate sittable. Okay, so we can do that quite simply. We add a locator to the upturned crate, and we set the locator as the position and the rotation that we want to sit. So this character here sits in that chair, and I want to act like I want to sit down and be able to listen to that character's stories by the fire. So I'm just going to position this locator so that I'm able to sit comfortably. Then with the locator selected, I'm going to click Entity, Add Script, Sitting Script. And I'm going to choose the seat type. Now the locator, because I'm basically making my own socket, it doesn't automatically have a seat type. So I'm going to choose one. I'm going to choose chair, because I want to be able to sit on it as if it's a chair. Again, I'm going to add the prompt to sit down. And I also need to add a trigger, because I can't look at the locator in order to be able to sit down. So let's use that trigger, the same sort of process that we had before. I'm going to add a trigger as a child of the crate that I want to sit on. I'm going to make the trigger interactable, and I'm going to hook up the onInteract function to call the setSeated function in the sitting script of the locator. So let's try that now. I'm going to press F5, and that means now if I walk over here, I can look at the crate. The prompts come up, press E to sit down, and I press E and I can sit on the crate and I can listen to the stories by the fire. And again, if I look at myself sitting on the crate and press E, I will stand up. And again, you can do the exit point and move the locator around, add the polish that you want to add. So that's how to make anything sittable. You just have that locator, you add the sitting script to the locator, and then you use some kind of trigger, make sure it's interactable, and then you can make sure that players can interact with something, and then they can sit. on the locator. So the next piece of the puzzle is looking at how do we get NPCs to sit down. So this chef over here looks like he, looks like he might want to sit down. He's been standing up the entire time I've been talking. Let's face it, that's quite a while. So I'll select the chef, and let's say I want to make him sit on this stool here. Now the stool already has sitting script attached, and if I hover this socket, you'll see that the occupy asset is stool, so it will automatically use the right pose to sit on the stool. But I want this NPC to sit on it, and I can do that using Stuart's package. So with the NPC selected, entity, add script, and I need the NPC sitting script. And there's only one property I need to change in here, and that is to put the tavern stool 1 as the seat. So I just say what stool I want the NPC to sit on. And now if I press F5, and let's turn around, is the chef sitting on the... Yep, the chef is sitting on the stool at the bar. And so there you go. That's how to get an NPC to sit down. You need the sitting script on whatever you want to be able to sit on, and you need the NPC sitting script on the NPC. Let's take a quick look at some of the API calls that enable players and NPCs to sit down in Crayta. So let's click on this stool and open up the sitting script from Stuart's sitting and lie down package. And in here you can see we've got, for an NPC to be able to sit down, we've got this call to a function attached to spot. And it's the same for the player. After it checks to see whether the different spots are occupied, different sockets are occupied, it will call the same thing, attached to spot. And in here we have the key function, key new API call, which is start occupy, and you pass the seat that you want to be able to sit down on. If the seat has more than one socket, it will probably choose the first socket it finds, and that isn't necessarily determined. So in order to tell it which seat that you want to sit down in, use start occupy, and you can use the type of seat you want to take, stool, chair, bed, etc. Or you can also pass it the socket name. And this is where that functionality in the editor came in handy. So here with the stool selected, I can hover over copy socket names, and I can find all of the socket names. So it's kind of like when we did play animation, and you can do the same thing. You can check what animations something might have, except now it's start occupy and you pass the seat you want to occupy. So it's the character or NPC, start occupy, you pass the seat you want to occupy, and then the socket you want them to take up. If you don't pass a socket, it will grab the first one possible. And to stop sitting down or to stand up, you can call end occupy, wherever that is in here. Here we go, end occupy. And so the same thing, you can call that on an NPC or on a player, and you use end occupy, and they will stand up. So if you're into your coding and you want to take this even further, make sure to check out sitting script, and you can also take a look at the NPC sitting script, which you'll find attached here, and how this works and how this makes the NPC sit down as soon as possible. Note that on the init function, you have to wait for a split second or a second whilst the world builds before you can tell the NPC to sit down. That's just because a chair might be still loading in that you've told the NPC to sit down on. So you need to kind of handle how things are loading in gradually at the beginning of the game. So that's how players can sit down. Players can sit down on anything, and NPCs can sit down, and they can sit down on anything as well. One last thing I thought would be quite fun to look at is if I go through this door and go up the stairs, and in this door there's a bed, and I can press E and I can lie down on the bed. It's exactly the same process as before. You can use Stuart's package and you just add your sitting script to the bed, and then you should be able to lie down. Press E and I can stand up and run around again. So we can sit and we can lie down, which is great. And it's great for making environments feel more lived in, more alive, and for NPCs acting appropriately in the context they're in. One last thing I wanted to talk about before I go, is the new socket system. And I said I would cover this. So when I click on any NPC, you'll see that they have some of these sockets that we talked about. And these sockets are where we can attach things. They are different. The names of these are different from the names that you have used in the past in Crayta to attach things to NPCs or to characters. So with the NPC selected, I can see these and I can hover them, and you can see it says character underscore left hand, character underscore left grip. So it's not just left grip, it's not just left hand, it's character underscore. And you can see the sockets that are available to you. And so what you need to do, if you've got a package which has got things attached to characters, make sure that you go back and you update any of that stuff so that it will work going forward. The old the old names of the sockets on the characters will be deprecated. So you need to update this as soon as possible, really, to make sure that everything continues to work. And that's it. That's how to sit down on anything or lie down on anything in Crayta. I hope this has been an interesting and fun tutorial. If you want more tutorials, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. If you like this, or if you have a request for any more tutorials or other things you want me to look at, please don't hesitate to leave a comment below. Remember to like this video. And if you have any questions or you get stuck, don't forget to join our Discord, discord.gg/Crayta, or you can join our Facebook group, the official Crayta community. And on there, you'll be able to find all sorts of resources, the same on the Discord, resources and community members who would just love to pitch in, help you out, and we can all make some games together and make some cool environments and have a sit down by the fire, maybe regale each other with some stories of our games in Crayta. Anyway, that's it from me. Thank you very much, and I look forward to seeing you in Crayta.